Howdy folks, welcome back to another Armored Warfare replay, and today I have for you, it's her, the Mighty M1A1 Abrams battle tank. This would be the tank I would serve on when I was in the U.S. Army. We are in Operation Prometheus in PvE mode, and this is hardcore. I love this tank. This is my tank. This essentially, when I was out in the field, this tank was my home. This tank is measured. This tank is the measuring stick to all other main battle tanks. In real life, it is actually pretty well armed and heavily armored. Most notable features would include its powerful AGT 1500 multi-fuel turbine engine. And no, ladies and gentlemen, it's not a helicopter or jet engine. Some odd reason people confuse it. It's actually a helicopter engine. Actually, it was the originally to be the engine for the Black Hawk helicopter, but things worked out a bit differently and it ended up in the Abrams. Sophisticated composite armor, separate ammunition stowage with blowout panels, which you can actually see on the roof.
Black Company, your mission today is to retrieve the nuclear missile.
It weighs in at 68 short tons and is one of the heaviest main battle tanks in the world. Yeah, this thing is just, it's a beauty. It's really hard to describe how awesome the machine is. To really be in the Abrams, it's hard to describe how awesome the machine is. It's a lot of fun to drive. The gunnery system is just amazing. It's just an amazing machine. It's used by the U.S. Army as well as the Marine Corps. It would also see Army use with Egypt, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Australia, and Iraq. This tank would enter service in 1980, and it would replace the M60A3s that we had in service at the time. The M1A1, however, would enter service at a later date. Trying to remember the exact date it would enter. Oh, look at this. Yeah, you're asking for it, buddy. God, I love this machine.
Identify. Hostile PC.
Let's see. M1A1 was produced from 1986 to 1992, and it featured the M256 120 millimeter smoothbore cannon developed by Rheinmetall. Basically, it's an Americanized version of the Leopard 2's main gun, and it is a very capable gun. This thing just chews through T-72s like they're candy. Now, what you have here in Armored Warfare is, well, a really good haul-down tank. It can take a little bit of abuse not being hauled down, but I highly recommend it being used haul down. It does have explosive reactive armor blow-off panels on the sides, however, not on the front, which is unfortunate. This is one of the very early I believe this is a SEP version 1 package. I don't know personally. My tank never had the explosive reactive armor put on it. There's one for the Anders. And this tank is still in service today. It's actually planned to keep this machine in service until like 2030 or something like that. It still has more service life in it. There's actually still quite a few of them in service. A lot of them have been upgraded to M1A1D status, which essentially it's an M1A1 that was upgraded to M1A2 standard. This tank is actually named after General Creighton Abrams, who's actually pretty interesting. He was a tanker actually in World War II, Lieutenant Colonel. He's got some pretty interesting history, so take some time at some point, read up on General Abrams. And yeah, I would say this tank would do him proud. He would definitely be proud to have this tank named after him.
Enemy destroyed.
I just love the sound of that 120 millimeter gun. I still remember the very first time it was a live fire exercise on the range. The very first time ever tapping a 120 millimeter round off. It was let's just say I screamed at the top of my lungs in pleasure. It's actually a well-protected tank. And it's actually a fairly mobile tank for how heavy it is. Oh, watch this. And that wasn't even aimed, but I still managed to put steel on target. So the engine is actually in the rear. It has a ballistics computer and a laser rangefinder, as you can see there. Nice heavy tracks. The tracks are rubber chevrons and steel. And you can't see the side skirts, but the side skirts are actually quite heavy. Features a torsion bar suspension. Instead of a separate engine and transmission, what it is it's a power pack. Essentially, when you pull the engine, you also pull the transmission. It takes roughly about 2 hours to pull the power pack and replace it. And essentially, outside of general maintenance, that's how the engine is worked on. Essentially, it's if the engine needs any serious service, they pull the power pack, put a new power pack in, and then do the service off to the side. Oh yeah, look at that shot. Got extra road wheels on it. I just love how they did the Sherman model, the Abrams model here. You got the coaxial M240. They don't show it there, but the loader would have an M240, and the tank commander, which is the hatch on the right of the turret, would have an M2 HB machine gun. In the game, it can only fire sabot ammunition, sabot rounds, and heat. However, there is another round for the M1A1, which is called Mpat. That's a round I would just say do research on, because it's a very unique round. It's a shame the Mpat round isn't in game. I don't know really how they would make it mechanically work. But essentially, it's a round that you can use to go after land or ground targets. There was actually in my unit, there was actually a master gunner who put a 120 millimeter sabot round in the side of a Hind, shot down a Hind helicopter. So just, I just can't say how capable this machine is. So what we got here, let's put up the results. So there you go, just over 18,000 damage with 6 enemies spotted and 6 enemies destroyed, and I grabbed myself a blue star and a few other battle rewards there. And then what we got here is we got 6 kills, top damage overall, and actually top spotting overall. Just very good machine, well played match. For hardcore mode. I wish I could say more about this tank. I just wish I could describe the awesomeness of the Abrams. It's just one of those things you can't understand unless you've actually been in an Abrams. And I have all the Abrams tanks, and I'll be doing more Abrams tanks replays and giving you progressively more and more history about the Abrams tanks as I go along. But I figured I would actually start with the M1A1 because, like I said, that was my tank in the service. So there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed this replay. Remember to hit the like and share button. Spread around that I'm airing Armored Warfare replays, and hopefully we can also, with your help, expand the player base, get more people interested in the game. And hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time.